Hello all, this is Anupama Zavargi here and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to share some of my takeaways from this book, Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. It's a classic book, number one New York Times bestseller. And I think it has stood the test of time because even when I've read this before, but I read this again to make this video, and then I realized that everything that is mentioned in this book is relevant even today, like in 2022, because the book is old. So, but some the things are equally important today as they were when this was first written. Very interesting book. I have got so many notes that I was like thinking that probably my notes are going to be like another book itself, because there are just so much good stuff in there which we really need to focus on in our lives. So the tagline for this is that what the rich teach their kids about money, that the poor and middle class do not. So this is the most important thing, because I've already done a video on money mindset. So when you want to be rich or you want to be successful, mindset plays a big role. And here in this book, he has compared, two different mindsets about money and how they make a difference in life. So one he has used as an example is his own biological father, whom he calls poor dad. And the interesting thing is the dad, whom he calls poor dad, is actually is a PhD holder, was a teacher, was a professor in a university. So he was not like the poor as we think him to be. He was very well educated, but he used to be always struggling with money. And the other rich dad, the one he refers to as rich dad, is actually his friend's dad, whom under whom he Robert learned all these things about money that his poor dad did not share with him. So, and this rich dad had not even finished his high school. I think he was eight. He had just studied up to eighth grade, but he was an entrepreneur. He was a business person, and he so sort of he started comparing these two dads' lives when from the age of 9. When he was 9, Robert was 9. He used to interact with these two dads, and from then he realized that there is such a big difference between the mindset of these two people. And at that time when he was 9 years old, these two people were sort of at the same level financially, but the way their lives went later on, and the rich dad became one of the most richest person in Hawaii, where they used to all stay. So he has said that these kind of things have influenced him in his life, what his rich dad used to tell him. And he has compared, the first thing, it starts with the comparison between what the poor dad used to say and what the rich dad used to say. And I think that is the most interesting thing, because on the channel also I've shared so many videos on the power of thought. So, first, before we change our financial situation, before we try to be more successful, we need to first work on our mindset and what our thoughts are. So, I think I'm going to start, basically with the first thing, that how these two dads used to think differently. And the thing with this becomes important is, this is something, financial literacy is not taught in schools. Most poor and middle class parents, they tell their kids, that you need to go to school, you need to study hard, so you'll get a job in a good company and you will earn a lot of money. So that's basically what the poor dads always tell their kids. But the rich dad share different things with their kids. They and that is something that is not taught in school. So financial things are something that we learn from our parents. So that's why we carry that mindset with us. Whatever the parents think about money is what our mindset becomes about money, and that's the same thing we pass on to our kids. So we need to pay attention to what our thoughts are about money first. So that's why he is very nice comparison between two different ways of thinking about money. So the first thing is, the poor dad, he says, he used to say, that love of money is the root of all evil. I'm sure we have all heard this in our lives. While the rich dad used to say, lack of money is the root of all evil. And another very important thing, the poor dad used to always, I can't afford it. And we all hear that as kids, that we cannot afford this. We cannot, when once the kids ask for something, the parents are always saying we cannot afford it. And here he says the rich dad always used to say, how can I afford it? So basically, once you tell the brain that okay, we cannot afford it, it's not going to give you a way of how it is. They can you can make it possible. But once you give a question to the brain that how can I afford it, then brain will come up with ways to help you actually make that into a reality. Then another thing is study hard so you can find a good company to work for. Something we've all heard. But the poor dad used to say, but the rich dad used to say, study hard so you can find a good company to buy. So see such a big difference in mindset and what the kid used to hear as they grew up. Then a poor dad used to say, no, I'm not rich because I have to take care of my family, I have you kids to take care of. While the rich dad used to say, because I have kids I need to be rich. So this was his mindset, because I need to do something for the kids, I need to save, I need to leave something for my kids, I need to work harder or make more money, is what the rich dad used to say. Then poor dad never used to encourage this money talk at home. So he used to always especially during dinner time and all that, so don't talk about money. So kids never heard anything about money at home. But a rich dad always encouraged this discussion around money. And this is something that is very common in our households also. We don't encourage kids to talk about more about money. We either tell them that okay, think about it when you grow up, or you are too small to talk about money and things like that. Then poor dad used to say that home is our largest is our most is our largest investment and the greatest asset. And rich dad used to say that my house is my liability. So poor dad was always worried about his job. Job security was a big deal to him. He was always worried about the package he was getting, or the medical benefits, the retirement plans, everything. So everything, all his financial worries were around the job, the around his job. While the rich dad always believed in total self reliance. He didn't want to depend on any kind of job to actually have that financial security. The poor dad always struggled to save even a few dollars. Even though he was a PhD, he was earning pretty well. It was not like he was poor. So rich dad was always interested in creating investments. And poor dad taught him, Robert, to write a resume, how to write a good resume so you will get a good job. But the rich dad always taught him, how to write strong business and financial plans. Then poor dad always used to say that I'm never going to be rich. So this is, whatever you say after I am is what your reality is. So he used to always say, no, I'm never going to be rich. And a rich dad, he used to say that I am a rich man, and rich people don't do these kind of things. So even when he was not rich, he used to still feel inside that he is a rich man. So what he used to say is a nice sentence, there's a difference between being poor and being broke. Because he used to say that broke is a temporary thing, but being poor is a permanent thing, because it's a mindset thing. So and poor dad used to always say, I'm not interested in money. But rich dad used to say that money is power. And we all always say that, because we're so afraid of losing money, or discussing monetary issues, that we always keep on saying that I'm not interested in money. When we don't know what to do about it, we use these kind of sentences that I'm not interested in money. So so these, you as you can see, there's such a big difference between the two mindsets, and what these dads taught their kids. So he says that he sort of started observing these two dads when he was 9 years old. And at that time both were sort of at the same level, but the way their lives changed because of their mindset is what Robert learned from. So it's a great thing to, we need to evaluate, what are we saying, any of these sentences, are we leaning towards more of the rich dad or the poor dad? So so if we are towards poor dad, maybe we need to course correct our thoughts first, so that we can get more money. Then some other very important points, that he says that rich don't work for money, they let money work for them. So poor and middle class work for money, but the rich let money work for them. So how is this possible? So what he says is, there's always poor people or middle class people. They are always afraid of losing money, afraid of failing, afraid of them losing their jobs. So they are afraid of not being able to pay their bills, fear of being fired from the job. So all their everything that they do is constantly driven by fear. While for rich people, it is driven by passion. What they want to do is what pulls them forward. But here, fear is what, what if they lose everything, what if they cannot afford, what if they don't have any money for retirement, is the this is the fear that drives the poor people and the middle class people to go to work every day. And what he says is every person has sort of a price. So initially, it's the fear driven, and once they start getting more and more money, then they start becoming greedy. They start focusing on what are the things, luxuries that they want to buy. And then it becomes a question of, fear and greed together is what drives most poor and middle class people. And so, in order, once they start buying things, then they have all these installments to pay for. So they are always stuck in that job, and they get more and more fearful that they will not be able to enjoy this lifestyle if they lose the job. So every day, they get up, they go to work, come back next day again, go to work. So their whole focus is on that job and retaining that job, and that job being able to pay for all the luxuries that they want to buy. So that is all their life revolves around. And he says fear and ignorance sort of intensifies fear, and desire is ignorance, because they really don't know, they are not financially literate. So this is something very interesting, that we may be we're highly qualified, doing a great job in a very big company, but we may be, even though we have all these things, we will have money, but we will, if we are not financially literate, then this money is of no use. We are constantly driven by fear, and we keep doing the same things again and again. So what does this financial literacy mean? He says that you need to know the difference. First thing is, you need to know the difference between asset and liability. So rich people know this difference, that what is an asset and what is a liability. But poor and the middle class, what they think is, what their asset is actually a liability, but they think of it as an asset. So here, he says, he makes a very good distinction, that asset is something that takes money, that puts money in your pocket, and liability is something that takes money from your pocket. So very simple definition. So we really need to know what our asset and our liability is, because he says, we all think of our house as our asset, but actually it's a liability. And then the next thing that he says is, we need to all mind our own business. So you will say, I am working in a job, I don't have a business. So what he says is, here we are all concerned about the income statement, right? How much we are making, how much we are making after tax. But we need to be more concerned about our assets, what assets we have. So minding our own assets is actually, we have to treat that like our business. And then you have to focus on the asset column, not on the income statement. Because a lot of things we buy, let's say you buy a car, the moment you drive the car out of the shop, it's like the price has gone down by, its value has gone down by 25%. And during, a lot of difficult times, if you really need money, you realize that everything that you thought was your is an asset, it actually is not giving you any returns. So these things and all these luxuries, you are spending so much on them, but in terms of when you are going through a difficult period, they don't come in handy. It's very hard to convert them into any kind of cash. So that's why he says that these are all liabilities. So what assets you should work on? So first is businesses that do not require any presence. So businesses that you can invest in, but you don't have to work there. So you are working somewhere else. The business is taken care of by other people, but you will still get the returns from that business. So that is the first thing. Then it is stocks, bonds, treasury notes, mutual funds, income generating real estate. So your house is a liability, but if you have income generating real estate, if you're getting rent and other income from it, or it appreciates, then that is an asset. Then royalties from intellectual properties, like music, or scripts, or now you have even software, you have IPs, Then anything that has value and produces income and appreciates is again something that you is an asset, and you need to acquire those assets, so rich people buy luxuries, from these income, from these assets helps them buy luxuries. So generally poor middle class, when they start getting money, they start buying luxuries, and because they want to show that they are rich. So he says, rich people don't spend that money into assets, like luxuries first. They build assets that automatically money from the assets is used to pay for the luxury. So that is another big financial difference between how people manage their money, the rich and the poor. Then he says that we all need to be financially literate. So this financial intelligence, what does it consist of? The first thing is financial literacy consists of ability to read numbers. You need to be able to read your input, output, expenses, all those kind of things. So all numbers, you need to be clear of what they are. You like a balance sheet. Then the second thing is investment strategies, the science of making money. So where you invest and how much returns that thing brings you is something that you need to be aware of. The third is the market, because supply and demand, right? Everything depends on supply and demand, whether something appreciates or depreciates. So you need to be aware of those things. And the last one is the law, because where you are living, the law of the land. What is the law of the land regarding your investments? How much tax you need to pay, or if they have some treaties with other countries. All these this kind of things. Your how much corporate tax is there, how much state tax, national tax. All these laws you need to be aware of. So another next very important point he says is you need to work to learn, don't work for money. Because people tend to start working for money, and that is what drives them. So he says, sometimes you need to diversify, get skills in different fields of life, or get skill work in different companies. So generally what people tend to do is they work in the similar type of company, become too specialized, and then they cannot switch, they are stuck. So he says, you need to learn stuff from a lot of different people, a lot of different environments, and constantly keep on learning stuff. So he says, three main management skills are needed for success. So any kind of success in life, and they are managing of cash flow, what comes in, what goes out. The second is management of systems, which includes, your time and also your relationships, your family, time with family. That also everything needs to be managed. So that is the second one, management of all the systems. And the third is, and the most important thing is management of people. So he says, we sometimes neglect the importance of these kind of things like managing people, because everything, everywhere in life, we have to manage people. Whether it's your relationship with your boss, your employee, your family members, your kids, any with your business clients, everywhere, your customers, everywhere. You need to know, and you need to have good communication skills. You need to work on those communication skills, your presentation skills, your actually negotiating skills. So all these things are very important. Sales and marketing is sometimes looked down upon, by people, but he says that's very important. And in his class, he when he teaches, he asks students, can they make a good hamburger, better than a McDonald's? So everybody raises their hand that yes, they can definitely make a better hamburger. But then he says, yes, but McDonald's is the one who can actually market and sell it, in so many countries. So just knowing something is not enough. You need to be able to market and sell that as well. So these are some of the important points from the book. I think he's stressing a lot on financial literacy, which is not taught. We need to learn it on ourselves. You can get help with that. You get a coach, read books, attend seminars. So you need to increase your knowledge. You need to learn a lot about these things on your own, because it's not taught in schools. So this is, I think, the first part of the book, where you get a idea about the different mindsets between rich and the poor people, and also some of the things that you need to be aware of on this journey to becoming more successful financially. And I think in the next video I'm going to cover actual steps that we need to take, because I wanted to divide this video into two parts so we get the full gist of what is in the book. So I'll see you next time with the part 2 of the book. If you like the video, press the like button, share it with somebody who could benefit from it, and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the part 2 of this video. Thank you.